Welcome to the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show. I'm Jeff DiVeronica with my co-host Steve Bradley. Here to welcome on one of the defending champions in Section 5 football, a team that made it all the way to the state semifinals last year in Class D, the Oakfield-Alabama Elba Aggies, one of the great names in Section 5 football, Section 5 sports, really. We'll talk more about that nickname a little later on. They're on our specialties hotline. Our guests this show are the head coach, Tyler Winter, young fellow with the beard on the top of your screen. And then the young fellow with the beard toward the bottom is Bodie Hyde, the junior quarterback, and also one of the great linemen for him, offensive lineman and linebacker. I believe Brayden Smith, you are the leading tackler for this defense, which has been so dominant this year. Average score for this year through 4 games, guys, 54-8 over your opponents. Coming off a big win over Leroy, 38-6. We're going to break that down in a minute. Steve, how impressed have you been not only with just the win over Leroy, but I guess the emergence of this program?
Oh, incredibly impressed, Jeff. You have to remember that in 2019, these guys were playing 8-man football. So this program was very strong. I was growing up in Genesee County in the 70s and 80s, very proud tradition. Always was strong in several sports, baseball, basketball, football, and they're on top of Section 5 in those sports again. It's great to see they're ranked second in the state in the first poll that came out. So if you haven't been impressed by this group, then you haven't been paying attention.
Tyler, let's start with you. Can you give us a little of your background? In I know you grew up in Holly. You're pushing 30 years old, and you teach at Elba. Tell us a little about your football background. Did you play in high school? Did you play in college? And then your coaching background.
Sure. So growing up in Holly, from youth all the way up to varsity, I played just about every year that I could. I did do 1 year of college at SUNY Brockport, played my freshman year. It wasn't a very eventful year. I actually got right into coaching my second year and went right back to Holly to assist with the program. So even though I'm 29, knocking on 30, this is actually my 10th year now of coaching varsity football because I've had stops along the way. Did a couple of years with Holly while my younger brother was coming up through the program. And then once he graduated, a mutual coaching connection led me to Warsaw for a year where I was able to make some good connections and learn a lot there in 2014. And then as they had just started their merge with Letchworth going into 2015, that's when I ended up finding myself at York Pavilion. Again, another family friend who kind of took me under his wing with a ton of coaching experience, asked me to help him. And then somehow I blinked, and at 23 years old, I was actually taking over York Pavilion's program as their head coach for a couple of years while I was finishing up my my education program at Brockport.
Wow.
And then it all seemed like it went so fast now, looking back and kind of you asking me to think about it, because one thing led to another, and then the phys ed job at Elba popped up, and applied, got it, had to say goodbye to York, which was tough because I really did enjoy those kids in that program. And then got immediately involved in the young OAE merge. And, you brought up obviously that we were 8-man in 2018 and 19, and we've had our highs and lows already, but so far so good with where we want this program to go and the trajectory that it's on.
So Bodie, tell us about Coach. I mean, he's 10, 11 years older than you guys. And a lot of times you hear about veteran coaches that have been around for a while, but you guys relate pretty well to him. Is he pretty well connected? Is it good having somebody that's a young up and comer like Coach Winter?
Yeah, it's definitely huge to have that connection with your coach, especially just like being able to relate so well to him with the age being so close. It makes it a lot easier sometimes, to get on the same head level as us and just get, connected to the same mental state. It really helps with the family aspect of our team for sure.
The last week I got in a little trouble because I asked the coach, like one of the players, if the coach has any like isms and phrases. Now, coach, and that was a coach that had been around for a while, Coach Maxwell. Brayden, does Coach Winter have any pet phrases that you guys have picked up on?
Yeah, he's got a couple actually. Last year, our big one was "We Need It." He started with that one last year, and that sort of carried over. This year it's like it's just a lot of things. It's like pedal to the metal. Like there's no stopping really. He doesn't really have a go-to this year. It's just keep the foot on the throat, really.
Steve, let's talk about that Leroy game because you beat him 38-6, and Bodie, you did what you do. You had a great game. five, was it 5 touchdowns? I think 7 for
Yep.
11 through the air, 3 touchdowns passing, 156 yards passing, a couple TDs running, almost 100 yards rushing. And then Noah Courier with another great game, 19 rushes for 134 yards. I was gonna ask Coach this, Bodie, but I want to ask you. You're the quarterback. You guys had passed the ball, I think I read 5 times leading into this game, and then you doubled down. You went even more than double. I think you passed it 11 times. Did you all see something in the Leroy defense that you wanted to attack? That
it wasn't really that. It was just basically the fact that we hadn't thrown a lot in the year, and we knew that, we're going to need to be able to throw later in the season when we get into big games. And honestly, we just needed more game reps of passing routes and just getting our timing and concepts down so that when we get into times where we need it, we know that we can do it successfully. And obviously in the past last year, I was pretty successful throwing. I had a lot of time to throw behind our line, and we'd make some big plays late in the season off that. So, honestly, bringing it back last Friday was huge for us. It really it gave us a big boost in the beginning, especially, and we just carried off of that throughout the rest of the game.
Well, Coach, what makes this team go 54 points per game? Noah Courier looks like he's a cheat code. 165-pound senior, 726 yards and 13 touchdowns in 4 games. Brodie's run for 482 yards and 8 touchdowns. What makes these guys go?
I think right now this year it's the versatility. I mean, and Bodie kind of touched upon this. The first 3 weeks only having 5 pass attempts. To the outside looking in, it may seem like it was something that we can't do. And on the contrary, it's just something that we really haven't felt like we've needed to, nor had the chance to yet. When Bodie was a sophomore last year and he was our starting quarterback, we were still a run prioritied offense. We at our roots, we are a wing T offense, but we've gotten very multiple over the years. And, we've broken the wing T a little bit to get in the gun and do some different concepts to allow our athletes to play. But, we had that Far West regional game with Randolph where we were victorious and Bodie had 200 passing yards. And it's just kind of a feel thing too. It's always something that he can do. He can run, he can pass. And then you brought up Noah Courier, and we got guys like Connor Scott and a senior wide receiver and Kyle Porter and some young change of pace backs and Avery Watterson and Sean Alexander. These guys are all dynamic athletes. And, to make it even better this year from tackle to tackle, we have an offensive line that we feel like, man, we finally have 5 for 5, the combination of speed, strength, and athleticism. And when we line up across from an opponent, we may not always look like we're the biggest on tape, but we've got guys that can play very well in that closed space. But we've also got guys like Brayden who can pull to outside the numbers and get around and escort our backs with their speed, with speed of their own. So really, we just feel like the overall dynamic level of the offense is what's allowed us to score in bunches this year so far.
Brayden, you look like a pretty big boy. How tall and what's your weight here? Can we go through that real quick?
I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds.
Okay. And Steve was telling me, and you were telling me before the interview, can you run through this kid's, they've both been a part of some winning teams here. Give us the rundown, Steve-O.
Okay. Last year, Brayden won 4 sectional championships.
Just 4?
Football, 4.
Only 4?
Yeah, just 4. Well, there's only 3 seasons. So he's football, basketball, baseball. He was a dual participant in the spring, not only won the team golf championship, but he was the individual golf champion. And Bodie won football, basketball, and baseball. Now, Oakfield-Alabama had a super year last year. And Brayden, maybe just tell us about that and what your spring was like. Because there's some people, and they might be, old codgers like me that would say, oh, you can't play golf. It'll screw up your baseball swing. But it certainly didn't happen for you. So tell us about your last spring.
Well, I made the decision, and Bodie sort of talked me into it. He's like, you got your whole life to play golf. And I was like, you're right. I got to play baseball this year. So I went out and played baseball, and my golf coach was sort of mad at me. He was like, you're going to mess up your swing. But after I played a couple times, I was like, I don't feel a difference. It felt normal.
What'd you shoot to win sectionals? Take us through that, because we know that golf isn't just physical, it's mental too.
I think I shot 84 to win individual sectionals on 18, but for the team was 9. I think I shot 46. It was one of my worst rounds of the year, but.
Favorite club in your bag?
I probably have to go with my probably my pitching wedge.
Steve, you
Now
know
Bodie's shaking his head. Why is Bodie shaking his head? What Bodie thinks different?
All this kid plays is golf. His grandpa's got a golf course at his house. We go down there and hang out sometimes. This kid, he plays so much golf. I think it's funny.
You know, the sign of a
I
good,
suck at golf. I can't hit a golf ball to save my life. That's more about why I'm shaking my head.
the sign of a good golfer is you say, "What's the favorite club in your bag?" and you don't know. That means you hit a lot of clubs really, really well.
I tried to at least.
Let's take a quick break, fellas. Come back, talk more with Oakfield-Alabama, Elba, the defending Section 5 Class C champions. Certainly their goal is to go back to the state Final Four and beyond this season. Before we go into breakdown, I want to tell you one of our great sponsors. It's Bath Fitter. You can see the number on the screen right there, 617-0007. It's a great local company. It's a national company, but we know the local reputation is stellar. We know that from experience. They put a bathroom in the Steve Bradley house over the summer, and it was done in a matter of 3 weeks from the first consult to the time it was done. No waiting for supply chain orders. They got it done really quick. And they did the install in 1 day. So
And they made my wife happy. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, Mrs. Bradley's happy. The world is right. Check them out online, bathfitter.com. We'll take a break. You're watching us right here on the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show.
The best three things here at McQuaid are definitely the sports, the brotherhood, and the service to community. I think that's a really big, important thing that McQuaid stresses, which is part of creating a better and great man. You definitely feel a connection with your fellow students here. It's being all guy school. You're able to relate to each other on a personal level, and everyone's very welcoming here with open arms and willing to be your friend.
While we celebrate 140 years of serving our community, the kind of delicious joy that lasts a lifetime, we look forward to serving you for 140 more. With hardworking, wholehearted, passionate people who will help shape new memories for generations to come.
You don't choose to get hurt at work, but you can choose the workers' comp attorneys at Connors and Ferris to fight for your money and medical benefits you deserve.
With over 20 years of industry experience, we will give your case our undivided attention so that you and your family can focus on your recovery.
So call Connors and Ferris, the workers' comp attorneys dedicated to fighting for injured workers' rights.
Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys.
Local McDonald's operators care about our local schools, teams, and student athletes. That's why they support the return of high school athletics in the Rochester area and around the state. See you before or after the big game at McDonald's. Welcome back, Section 5. Game on!
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey. G&G Fitness. Your goal is our goal.
Welcome back to the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show. Jeff DiVeronica and Steve Bradley talking to the defending Section 5 Class D state reps here out of Section 5. They hope to make another run. Great start to the season. 4-0 as they head into Week 5, and it's been pretty dominant. Steve Bradley, you wanted to ask about the merged nickname here, Steve.
I do. Coach, where did Aggies come from? Because Oakfield-Alabama has always been the Hornets. Elba's the Lancers. You've got a great logo. And Jeff wants me to say, out of the West End zone, here come the Hornets of Oakfield, Alabama. But where did the nickname come from?
So early years of the merge, kind of like we were just talking about with some of the rich tradition and the identity of both Oakfield-Alabama and Elba. The conversations early on were what was the identity of the merge program going to be, and rightfully so, the people in the community of Oakfield-Alabama did not want to waver on the Hornets, and Elba did not want to on the Lancers, and it was just some of those early growing pains where we had to try and find some middle ground. And when talking about those two communities and how they're both rich in tradition, we needed to think about, well, what do we have in common? And they're both very rich agriculture, farming land. And, so the Aggies, when you think of like a Texas A&M who have the Aggies for their A&M mascot, that was just something that just kind of seemed to fit. And to be honest, thinking back to when I started in the merge, it's almost like we talked it into existence. Because even when we were just the self-proclaimed Aggies, there were still a lot of people that were hesitant. And then as the success grew and as we went back from 8-man to 11-man and we continued to call ourselves the Aggies and even adopted a logo, everyone just kind of just to continue to talk about it and almost talked it right into existence. And now it just doesn't seem like we're looking back. I mean, we even have the logo in Max Preps right now as the Oakfield-Alabama Elba Aggies. So hopefully it's here to stay.
I do remember there was I do remember a couple years where it was like, this is an unspoken nickname. It's like, it's not official, but people are using it. So pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's really representative. Brayden, let me ask you this about I failed to mention this, I beg your pardon. Week 3 defensive player of the week with 13 tackles, 1 for a loss against Avon in a rematch of the championship last year. You guys took care of business 42-14 in that one. But you guys have done a lot of winning, like I said, and sometimes kids can get complacent. How have you guys been able to keep the standard high, even when you're beating teams by 40 and 50 and 60 points, where you don't get too complacent? Where does that come from, that drive?
We all grew up playing football together, so we all been together forever. We hang out in the summer and we lift together all the time, and we just put it together. And when we come to play, we're just having fun. We've always been having fun when we're playing football, when we're playing basketball, every sport we play, it's just fun for us. And we keep the competitive level when we start beating teams. You see kids that are like, oh, we won the game. And you get kids back up on the field when you're telling them hey, let's beat them by more. Why stop here? And coach really pushes that into existence, like you said, and we just keep going.
Now, Bodie, we mentioned you went to the state semifinals last year, where there's another team called Tioga that ended up winning it. And are they your measuring stick? I mean, you can't win a state championship without getting through sectionals and without getting through all the necessary steps. But that game against Tioga, does that kind of stick with you guys and motivate you guys that even as good as you've been, there's another team out there that's been at a level of excellence as well?
Yeah, definitely that game has stuck with us since last fall. And as coach states every week, every team that we face is a measuring stick. But honestly, we know that in our area, there's no team that we're going to see that's like that. So when we go to work during the week, when we go to work over the weekends, practice, lift, whatever we're doing, I feel like a lot of us still have that in the back of our mind that if we really want to, achieve some of the big goals that we had this year, we gotta get to that level. We got to keep working and do everything that we possibly can to get back to where we were last year. And, this year, if we do happen to get there, come out on top in some of those big games against a huge opponent like that.
Steve, I got to mention that this is one of the coolest. I'm not sure if this is your bedroom or you sleep in a nightclub or something. This is one of the coolest bedrooms you've ever seen on our show, Steve. That is your bedroom, in fact, Bodie?
Oh, no, this is my garage, actually.
Oh, your garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got our sectional pictures back here. I got a whole lot of stuff out here, yeah.
Yeah, is the Michelob Light to have I'd love to know where the origins of that lamp right there. That came from somewhere cool. So.
Yeah, it's been out here since we lived here. I think, I got my garage kind of decked out, so I come out here, hang out. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Let me ask you about just growing up, Leroy, Kelmum, those teams in most of my existence here for 2 decades those were the teams out that way, right? When you guys were younger, did you guys get beat up by those teams and now you're getting payback? Or when you guys were coming up, were you always, modified and JV? were you competitive with those guys? Brayden, you answer that one. Were you guys?
So when we were in youth, we didn't actually play them teams. We sort of played like Alexander, Medina, Batavia. We were in the NOFA league there, and like we didn't play Leroy or Kelmom, so we really didn't have any idea what they were. But when we got into high school and stuff, we got the JV and modified. We started playing them in our JV year. We came back and beat Kelmom, and then we played Leroy, and they handed it to us pretty good. And that sort of lingered with us, and then we knew it was our payback this year.
So, Coach, Leroy's a Class C school. You guys have been really strong in D, but that's a crossover game. They have all the tradition. What did that game, mean to your team to do so well against a team that's so well respected, not only in Section 5 but across the state?
Sure. We talked about the fact that was a big win for our program, just from the sense of, like you said, Leroy with the pedigree that they have, where, they are a classification bigger than us, but they're still deemed a small school, and they've been able to, through the passing of the torch from Coach Brian Moran to Brian Herdline. They're demonstrating excellence year in and year out at a decade by decade level. So that was a big measuring stick for us, because we knew if OAE is going to continue time and time again to put the product on the field each year that we want to put out there, we got to beat teams like Leroy for big home games on homecoming like we had this past Friday night. So, yeah, I'd say that was a win where, obviously the way we performed was great, but, beating a team like that with that pedigree, that signified a little bit extra for us too.
Brayden, let me ask you a question about Noah Courier, because I was reading up on you guys, and here's a guy that waited his turn. And I as the evolution of high school sports continues, I've realized that it seems like there's a lot of times there are kids that don't want to wait their turn. Like if I'm not a starter, my nephews used to play in Webster Thomas. They would say, there's a lot of kids we lost. They said, I'm not a starter. I'm not going to play anymore. I'm going to just give up the sport and do something else in my time. But is it different there with, you guys go to Oakfield-Alabama, but is it different with this group of guys? Like, it's okay to wait your turn. You don't have to have it all right now, even though you do have the hot shot quarterback who's a starter as a sophomore. But tell me about that with the mindset of the guys in this program.
Yeah, so Gage Armbruster from last year, he was our top dog running back, and Noah saw that and saw the product he put out there, but Gage didn't just do that during the season. He worked all off season. He busted his butt, and he sort of made a name for himself. And I think Noah took that into consideration and was like, he really made that happen. And I got nothing for Noah. He worked his butt off all off season. He got in the weight room and he got ginormous. He is a running back that does not look like a running back. And he worked his way into existence and put his name out there.
Coach, your defense, we're talking about 54-8, but the last 3 of the 4 weeks of the season, you've had 3 different players. We mentioned Brayden was one, had been defensive player of the week. Austin Pangrazio had 7 tackles, 2 for a loss, and a sack against Geneseo in week 2. And this week, Angelo Penna, also player of the week. What does that say about the talent and the versatility on that side of the ball too, that, makes this team tough to play against?
Yeah. So, as we've gone through each of these games and we get back into the office and we're sending out, media emails and inputting stats, my brother, Coach Corey Winter, has actually been our defensive coordinator as long as I've been the head coach. And, one of the things that he's brought up and noticed is as much, Brayden is leading us right now in tackles, but boy, he's got 3 or 4 guys, it seems like, each game that are nipping at his heels for that total tackle lead. And it's a plethora of guys. We've got a front 4 right now that we feel really good about as far as their combination of size, strength, and knowledge. And, I'm not sure how many small Class D schools can say this, but from last year's team as a state semifinalist team, we're an even front team that plays with 4 linebackers, and all 4 linebackers last year were underclassmen. They were coming back this year. So, we got 3 seniors, Brayden, Aiden Warner, Connor Scott, and junior Bodie Hyde next to Brayden. And, there are 4 seasoned players, and the way that they see the field and the way that they watch film, it's invaluable. They're doing a tremendous job through 4 weeks, and we don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Bodie, I got one more for you, and you're the quarterback, so you need to speak well on the tough questions. But what, you have a lot of guys back. You're obviously all a year older, the guys who are back. Where do you think this team could be better than last year?
I think that we got a lot of people that came back and a lot of experience last year, a lot of JV kids that got pulled up in the postseason to witness, our postseason run, our sectional championship, our Far West Regional Championship. And they saw the last two teams that we played in the postseason. They saw the Randolph, they saw the Tioga, and they saw the level that our team had to play at to be competitive in those games. I mean, obviously Tioga wasn't really competitive, but they know that what the work that we had to put in those weeks in the postseason to be able to be on the same field as those teams, because those teams were really good. And then especially going into our season, our Section 5 Class D, knowing that if we play at that level every single game, no team around us will be able to check us. And I think that's a big thing that, the younger kids last year were able to see and bring to the table this year, is that we got to play, everything we've got, every single ounce of effort on every play, no matter who the opponent is, what week it is, what time of the season. It's got to be everything you got. And if we keep going at that level and putting the work in that we are right now, I think that we're going to be in good shape for the postseason. I think we can go pretty far this year.
You guys play next to each other as linebackers?
Yeah, inside linebackers.
How much fun are you having? Start with Brayden. Tell me how much fun you're having, and tell me something about Bodie. And then Bodie, you get the last word.
I mean, it's amazing to be with your best friend at linebacker. You guys talk the whole game. You have fun with each other. You make a big hit, and you just laugh about it. Like, it's amazing. And, like, we talk about it every game. We're like, we sacrifice for each other. Like, lead blocker comes in that hole. One of us blows him up. The other one makes a tackle. We don't care who makes a tackle. Whoever gets there, it's their tackle, whatever. We just want to make the play.
Yeah, and honestly, me and Brayden, we watch a lot of film, and we do a lot of the communicating on the defense, no matter, even if it's just on the inside. We talk to the corners, we talk to the defensive backs, and it's just so fun to be able to communicate so much and just know exactly what play the other offense is running basically before they even run it, and being able to be in the right spot and fly through and just make the big plays. Brayden, honestly, he's got a better nose for the football than I do, getting into all the everything, all the mess in the middle. But I think being on the outside, I can move pretty quick, a little quicker than the lineman. But we work really good together and move as a cohesive unit, and we're pretty successful with it like that.
Now, he almost looks to me like he'd rather blow up the lead blocker than make the tackle, just the way he is. I don't know.
It's usually the opposite way. Me on the strong side, getting in on those blast plays with up-backs and, pulling linemen, getting to backer. I do a lot of the blowing up for him. So that might be a little reason why he's a leading tackle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting them tackles without Bodie blowing up the lead blocker, and especially my D line. They just eat up everything and make the holes huge for me to see. Like, that just doesn't happen without them.
It's such a group effort on defense, and we knew from the preseason that our defense was going to be something special just because of how we move together. And it's a group effort. None of us could do it without, like, all of us being in the right spot at the right time, doing everything that we need to do to open up the entire defense and being able to read the whole offense. It just works so good together, the way that we play together.
Coach, as these guys are talking about playing defense and each other and playing with each other, your smile got wider and wider. 10 years from now, if you're still covered wherever you are, and they say, what was Brayden Smith like? What was Bodie Hyde like when he was in high school? What are you going to tell people about these guys?
I don't know that I have met, both as a player and a coach, two smarter football players than these two. And I think that's why the smile got bigger and bigger, because just hearing them gas each other up, because when they both are playing defense together at those inside backer positions, they're both incredible. The way they talk, the way they flow to the ball, the way they will literally tell an opposing offense as you are lining up on the ball what you're about to run before it even seems like the opponent knows what they're going to run. And they have just been able to play so fast on both sides of the ball with the amount of preparation they've put in. They've put it in the weight room. They've put it in the film room. And one of the things that I think has been most impressive with these guys is they grabbed the torch on day one. They grabbed the microphone and they led on the practice field. So these two are surely the heartbeat and the voice of this year's team. And I couldn't be more proud of them. And I'm especially proud of them tonight in the way that they're doing with this interview.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Steven. See, we don't usually go this long with an interview, and it's the quality of the answers and the conversation we're having. We really appreciate you guys making the time for us. We're happy to showcase you guys, and hopefully you'll have a long season too that goes really deep into the postseason. Mr. Bradley, anything else for your compatriots here?
Just one more for Coach Winter. You mentioned the 8-man game and then the transition back to 11. The 8-man, there's a lot of space and it's a little bit different, but how did playing the 8-man game help this team come back and be what it is as an 11 full football field?
The biggest thing was, and these guys can attest to it because they both played on our JV 8-man team the last year we offered it. And I think more so than anything, the 8-man year allowed us to catch our breath a little bit with some of the enrollment issues we were facing. And it allowed these guys a chance to play football, play fast to the ball, and like you said, work on some of those open field skills that are needed at any level of football, 8, 11, JV varsity. I mean, we feel like we've got a great tackling team, and the amount of times that these juniors and seniors on JV had to tackle an open space that year, I can't imagine it hurt. But really more so than anything, this group, these guys that are leading the way for us, 8, 11, they are football players, and I'm confident they would have been successful at any level of football.
So 4 games left. York Pavilion, probably a kind of a homecoming game for you. Calmine, Byron Burgess, South Seneca, and Batavia Notre Dame. Everybody in Genesee County circles that game, I'm sure, no matter what. So how does this team get better and so position itself to make that sectional run that you all want to make?
The take-home message on Monday when we were in the film room was, now that we're in the middle of the season, we're kind of at a crossroads where, these next 4 weeks, these teams in their, each of them in their own regard, they pose their own set of challenges for sure. That's the nature of football. But I'm sure a lot of outside observers would look at our team and look at their teams and think that they may not predict a close score, but this team needs to be disciplined in knowing that it's a process, and we're not trying to be product oriented and look at just the scoreboard as the means of our measuring stick. I mean, we know that we got a lot of football left, and those are obviously all goals that are sticking in the back of the heads of each of our players and coaches. And each day's got to be a game. That's what we talked about today in practice. When we hit the practice field today, we're going to win or we're going to lose. We either got better or we didn't. So that's got to be the process-oriented approach these guys take and we all take for the rest of the year. And so far this week and in the middle of the season, these guys have really taken to that approach.
Once again, guys, tremendous interview. We really appreciate it. If you guys play football as well as you talk, you guys are going to go a long way this season. So I have a feeling you guys are pretty good at playing football. So for Steve Bradley, thank you guys for being on the show, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. For Steve Bradley, I'm Jeff DiVeronica. This is what we do here. We go deep. We're not a 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute program. We're going to take you inside the huddle, so to speak. And thanks for watching us right here on the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show.